Hey, this is Mr. Elmhorst hanging out with my 7th period advanced math class. We're doing a video for converting benchmark fractions, converting fractions to decimals percents. All right, so we are going to convert a fraction to a decimal by dividing. Fill it out. Dividing the numerator being divided by the denominator. And then you're going to convert a decimal to a percent by moving the decimal 2 place values to the right. And if we needed to go percent back to decimal, percent back to decimal, then we would move the decimal place value back to the left. So let's practice down below. So for this fraction, 1 out of 2, 1 is being divided by 2. What is 1/2 as a decimal? 0.5. So 1 is divided by 2. There are no 2's in 1, so we put a no number up there, which is 0. And then we divide into the decimal place value. So 2 goes into 1 half a time. So then how do we go from a decimal to a percent? No, you multiply it by 100. So the decimal is 0.5 or 0.50. So we multiply by 100 because percent means per 100. Percent, so this is going to be 50%. I'm not going to do 1/3 just yet. I'm going to go down here, and instead of 1 divided by 2, now I'm going to divide it by 2 again to get quarters. How much is half of 50?
25.
25. And then what if you had 3 of those? What's 3 25s or 3/4?
75.
75. And then we multiply that by 100 to get the per 100, which is 25% and 75%. So make sure you're filling that out as we're going along. So we have 1/2, 1/4, and 3/4. Now this may sound a little confusing here, but if we divided $1 by 2 and we got 50 cents, and then we divided 50 cents by 2 and we got 25 cents, what if we divided 1/4 by 2 and then we got 1/8? What is 25 divided by 2?
12.5.
12.5 or 12.5. Well, if we're dividing 25 cents by 2, then we're going to end up with 0.125. So we can actually do 1/8. If we keep dividing by 2, it's going to break it down into quarters and then half of a quarter, which is an 1/8. So what's half of 25%?
12.5.
12.5%. And now each one of your 8s is now a multiple of 125. So we could do 3 times 125. We can do 5 times 125.
Uh,
75. So all of our factors of 8 are going to be factors of 0.125. So now let's change them to decimals, or change them to percents. 1, 2. 1, 2, out of hundredths, 1, 2, 1, 2. So what percent is 3/8? 37.5%. What percent is 5/8?
62.5.
62.5%. What percent is 7/8?
87.5%.
87.5%. All right, so that takes care of 1/2, 1/4, 3/4, and then our eighths. So let's go back and let's do 1/3. 1. All right, so we have 1 divided by 3. So long division, the fraction goes inside division, the bottom of the fraction goes outside. So we're going to change 1 out of 3 into how many out of 10s? How many times does 3 go into 1?
0.
0. So we put a decimal value in here and then we continue dividing. How many times does 3 go into 10?
3.
And that is one of our repeating remainders. We're going to keep getting 1 remainder out of 10, and then that will give us repeating multiples of 3. And then we multiply that by 100, which moves it over 2 spaces, and that's 33.3 repeating percent. 33.3 repeating percent. So if that's 1/3, then what is 2/3 going to be? Times 2. 1/3 is 33.3, and then 2/3 is going to be 66.6 repeating percent, or 0.666 repeating. So make sure you're adding this into your fractions chart. And the last one down below is going to be factors of 5 and 20, which both, when multiplied, will give you 100. So the simple conversion here is 5 times 20 will give you 100. And you write it as 20 hundredths, 0.20. And 20 hundredths is 20 out of 100, or 20 per 20%. Well, if that is 1 out of 5, then what's 2 of those going to be? 40%. And then 3 times 20%?
60%.
And then 4 out of 5 is going to be 80%. So go ahead and complete the chart. So it's going to be 0.2 or 0.20, 0.4 or 0.40. The tens place value is not going to change. So if we multiply 5 times 20 to get 100, if we go over to the other side, what are we going to multiply 20 by? 5. So 20 times 5 is 100. So 3 out of 20 is 15 out of 100, or 15 per hundredths, or 15%. That's going to be 0.15. So each one of these below, if you multiply by 5, so that's 7 times 5 is going to be
0.35.
35 hundredths, or 35%. 9 times 5,
45.
45 hundredths, or 45%. 11 times 5,
55.
55 hundredths, 55%. And 13 times 5,
65.
65 hundredths, or 65%. So I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit. So these are called benchmark fractions. So if we can memorize these, we can build a lot of other fractions by knowing what these fractions are. So make sure it is completed, and then you're going to glue it into the back cover of your journal. If you have a multiplication table in the back of your journal, do not cover up the multiplication table, but go ahead and glue this in there.